On TV, on radio, and on your smartphone. This is Talk TV.
Welcome to The Talk, live on Talk TV, the home of straight talking. I'm Sharon Osborne.
And I'm Daisy McAndrew, and tonight we'll debate whether crowds were right to boo the Prime Minister outside the Jubilee Thanksgiving service. We'll discuss whether it's time to bring back imperial measures as well, and why one airline boss is blaming lazy Brits for airport delays. And joining us on the panel are former royal butler Paul Burrell, Talk TV's own Mike Graham, and journalist Afia Hagan. Now, the royal family was out in force today, of course, for the national service of Thanksgiving for Her Majesty the Queen at St Paul's Cathedral. It marked the second day of Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Now, of course, we know that the Queen couldn't be there. It was confirmed last night she wouldn't attend after experiencing discomfort after yesterday's festivities and trooping the colours. So Prince Charles stepped into his mother's shoes to represent her, accompanied by Camilla, his wife. And, of course, Prince William and Kate joined them, and they sat in the front row for the event. Now, of course, all eyes were on Prince Harry and Meghan. The couple was greeted with a warm welcome from the crowd, making their first public appearance in the UK for 2 years. And I really thought that the message was loud and clear from today. Paul, it seemed to me that the message coming from the royal family and from the Queen herself was, with or without me, the show will go on, and this is what it's going to look like without me, which I found very poignant, but almost weirdly uplifting.
It was, wasn't it? Everybody knew their place. It was an impeccable performance from everyone, and I know that the Queen will be sat at Windsor Castle in the Oak Room watching this. She had it all in her hands before, of course. The Lord Chamberlain provided all the information to her. She knew where everyone was going to sit. So she sat with a master plan today at Windsor Castle with an overview.
You're making her sound a bit like a James Bond baddie.
She was sat like everyone around the country in her home watching this performance. And I think she'd been very pleased by it.
I was going to say, how pleased at the moment, we're halfway through the 4-day jamboree, how pleased do you think the royal family will feel, you know, as a PR exercise, as something which is obviously meant to promote them? Do you think they'll feel it's going well?
Yes, nothing's gone out of place yet. It's perfect. It's just as it was planned, except the Queen, of course, because she's not too well and she's sat comfortably at home. And why shouldn't she, at 96, sit back and watch it all happen in front of her and let her people, her family, take hold of the reins and let it happen, because we're watching the future of the monarchy unfold before our eyes.
Now, of course, I have to ask you about this pinned to your jacket. What's the medal?
Well, I never get a chance to wear this, but this is a special weekend. This is the medal the Queen pinned to my chest in 1998, shortly after the Princess's death. And she said, I'm giving you this for service to me and Diana. It's the Royal Victorian Medal.
Well, how lovely. And I was reading sometime over the last few days, that as part of Jubilee, the royal staff have had a pay rise. They've had a 5% pay rise. And it made me think, how well paid is the royal household?
Not that well. My first wage in 1996 was £900 a year.
Oh, my Lord. Wow.
With a free bar of soap to keep us clean. Because cleanliness is next to godliness. A bar of soap and a packet of wash powder to wash your clothes. I'm not joking. It's the truth.
Soap and washing powder?
A bar of soap and a packet of wash powder every month.
Hold on, was that £900 a month?
A year.
A year?
A year.
Oh, wow.
That is...
You do it for the glory and the service of Her Majesty the Queen.
Now, of course, we know that there was one couple that had issues with lots of elements of the royal household in the past, Harry and Meghan, of course, and they took matters into their own hands and left. And as I was saying earlier, this was the first big occasion that they've been back for since they left. It seemed to me that they stuck to the script today. I fear that they, you know, we were told to expect quite a low-key Harry and Meghan. We can see them there. She looked amazing in her Dior outfit. But other people were saying, well, it's outrageous. They weren't sitting next to, you know, William and Charles and so on. How did you think the day went as far as all eyes being on them?
I think, obviously, they were very aware of it. But like Paul has said, nothing has been out of place. I think they played it perfectly. You know, when they pulled up in the car, there was those cheers, but they had a little chat with people outside, the priests outside. They went in. I think it's significant that they had their own procession. I think that shows that they are well loved within the royal family. But they're not working royals. They were sitting with other members of the family. But I think it's okay that actually they were sitting with Eugenie and sitting behind Kate and William and Camilla and Prince Charles. I think that's absolutely fine. You know, I think Meghan, like you said, looked gorgeous in Dior. They have their own possession. They said that they're going to keep it low-key this weekend. There's no Netflix cameras following them or anything like that. And I think they've played it perfectly. They haven't put a foot wrong so far.
Oh, I thought they were both very elegant, but at the same time, too, for the first time ever, I felt badly for them. Because he wasn't sat with his family, but it's also the family that he kind of betrayed. And I had really mixed emotions about it. I did feel sorry for them both. More for Harry.
I think the Queen's done it by the book,
Yeah.
actually. She's done it by order of precedence. The working members of the royal family sitting together, and then the rest. And Harry belongs to the rest now.
And that's the bed that he's made for himself
It is.
to lie in. So, you know,
Incidentally,
that's exactly where he should be, right?
Yeah, I think she looked wonderful, didn't she, today?
Yes, she did.
But she didn't look as spectacular as Kate. Kate looked as if she was about to step into a garden party or a royal ascot. She looked spectacular. She never puts her foot wrong. Meghan was slightly underplayed, I thought.
But do you think that might have been
Dior.
deliberate? You know,
Yeah,
if
I
she'd
think
gone
so.
all guns blazing with the outfit,
yes.
everyone would have said she's trying to upstage everyone else. She's
I think
in a
she did
really
the right thing.
difficult situation.
I absolutely think so. You know, you're absolutely right. She was understated. But I think it's kind of, you know, they've chosen not to be working royals. I think they're happy with that. You know, I think they're happy with where they were sitting. I think you're right that she was understated, still looked glamorous, still looked beautiful. I actually do think Kate looks amazing as well.
Yeah.
There was lots of great fashion on display. I think well done to them.
I don't think it was their choice to be in that place, though.
I
think
don't
they just had
either.
to- I think they had to be there. That's where they were going to be.
I don't.
And that was always going to be the way it was.
And Prince
So,
Charles
you know.
led the way, of course, representing his mother. That will be his role one day.
Absolutely.
So we have to get used to, actually, Prince Charles being out front with Camilla, and they will be king
And I
and
thought
queen.
he looked... You were saying this time yesterday that he'd looked emotional yesterday,
Yes.
and I thought he looked emotional
I did
again
too.
today. Oh, maybe that's just the way his face hangs these days. I don't know, but I thought he looked
No,
quite
I-
teary.
There's a
I
weight
think
on his
so.
shoulders, don't you think?
I think, yes, there's a weight on his shoulders, but also a sadness. I mean,
Yes.
the Queen wasn't by his side, and, you know, it is... it's kind of bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's
It feels like Thanksgiving
a wonderful
for-
occasion,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
she's not by his side, and that
And there
must
was-
be, you know...
It must be hard
soul
because, you know,
destroying
she is
for
his
him.
mother, after all, you know, and it's so that you can't forget that. I mean, Paul knows that better than anybody. It's a family at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he's obviously going to be thinking, you know, this is probably the last big thing that we do for my mother.
Yeah. Her place was missing. It was almost as if it was a Thanksgiving service for her life.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she wasn't
exactly.
there.
It was...
Right.
And there was a real element of poignancy, absolutely,
Yes.
for me today, that she wasn't there. And it's kind of giving us a vision of the future, of what's to come. Like, there's a new
Yeah.
Fab Four in town, right?
It's-
And it's
There is.
it's Camilla and
sad.
Charles
the
and
whole
Kate
thing,
and
I think,
William.
was so
I know.
sad because you know she's not feeling great, and she wasn't there, and just, you know, she was...
It was a slightly different atmosphere from yesterday, wasn't it? Because yesterday it was
was
really,
joyous.
you know,
Yeah. It was
joyous,
joyous.
and everyone was
But everyone
really
was so
filled
excited
with
to see
happiness,
her.
and she looked great. She looked amazing in that powder blue suit that she was wearing. And I suppose naturally there's a kind of natural come down from something like that. 'Cause
Yeah,
you
of
can't feel
course.
euphoric all the time.
Absolutely.
And
The
the
bubble was
ebbs
And maybe the
tomorrow.
weekend, and maybe it comes back tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we
No,
feel better again.
I don't think so, because she won't be there, and I think that she will be so missed. And I think she will miss it too.
Also, we have to listen to Duran Duran as well. I'm not looking
But also,
forward to
Paul, one of the things that really struck me, the fact she didn't make it to church, is because if if you understand the Queen at all, you understand how
Her deep faith.
deeply she feels her
Yes.
faith, and she doesn't, you know, as one of the bishops was saying today, she doesn't wear it on her sleeve, she wears it in her heart,
Yeah.
but it is so central to
It
her
is
being.
there all the time. I remember once we were mixing the dog food at the end of the corridor, feeding 9 corgis, and she turned to me and said something very poignant. She said, Paul, I swore an oath before God in Westminster Abbey to serve my country for as long as there's breath in my body, and that's what I intend to do. I heard it from the horse's mouth.
And is it true that she says prayers every night before bed?
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
traditional, you know, bedtime prayers. I think
Yes.
this is something
Oh,
people don't
I
understand
believe that,
about.
sure.
She's a
Yeah.
God-fearing
She's a very
woman.
religious woman, yeah.
Yes,
I
she
would
is.
believe that, totally. I want to go and show the clip of the Archbishop talking about the Queen not being there.
Your Majesty, we are sorry that you're not here with us this morning, but we are so glad that you are still in the saddle, and we are glad that there is still more to come.
Oh, he's like a teddy bear, isn't he? He's sweet.
In the saddle,
In
though?
the saddle was considered a bit racy. You
Well,
could-
she's
you
been
could
in the
see-
saddle all her life. I mean, she rode until 2 years ago, so
Yeah, which
great
is-
horsewoman.
Extraordinary.
Princess
Also-
Anne, I'm sure, but had a little giggle when that came out.
Yeah.
She definitely did. But I love the fact also that that was the Archbishop of York who's deputising for the Archbishop of Canterbury because he's got pneumonia and COVID. And everyone said to him, "Are you just going to?" We knew that the Archbishop of Canterbury had already prepared his full sermon. He said, "Are you just going to read it out on his behalf?"
Yeah.
And he said, "No, I'm going to write my own."
Yeah.
So he should. My moment in glory.
Yeah. He's been up for the
His
past
chance.
48 hours scribbling fervently.
I thought that was brilliant. Well, lots more to come. Boris Johnson was greeted with boos from the crowds outside St Paul's Cathedral earlier today. So were the public right to voice their disapproval at this Jubilee event? We'll be discussing that next. This is The Talk, live on Talk TV.
did.
Welcome back to The Talk, live on Talk TV. Harry and Meghan were far from the most controversial couple at today's Thanksgiving service. Have a listen to what happened when Boris Johnson left the cathedral. Well, a frosty reception for the Prime Minister and his wife, Carrie. There were a few cheers, but by far the loudest noise came from those booing. Now, the PM appeared unfazed as he nodded and smiled. The crowd were quiet for Keir Starmer, who arrived minutes later. So, did the Prime Minister have it coming, Mike?
I think it was pretty rude, actually. I don't think that's the sort of thing that we should be seeing. I mean, everybody's here, as we've been saying, to celebrate the Queen, 70 years of a fantastic reign and the monarchy. He's the Prime Minister of the country. You might not like him, you might not like what he does, but I think booing him, particularly he's there with his wife, you know, he's not been sort of, you know, gate crashing the place. He's been asked to go. I just think it's pretty poor form, to be honest, that you know, people are just booing him, sort of like a pantomime villain, really. Keir Starmer. I mean, nobody
behind you.
Yeah, he's behind you. Look out, you know, Keir Starmer. Nobody booed him because nobody knows who he is.
Well,
you know, he's got no personality.
But I think that people took it as an opportunity to express their dissatisfaction over Partygate and all the other things that Boris Johnson has done. And I think that's the only chance that people get to express that until they get to the ballot box, which is,
well,
you know,
there's been loads of
years
elections
away.
they could do it at. I mean, he goes out in public quite a bit. I just think it was the wrong time to do it. I just think it was a bit tasteless, to be honest.
I agree with you that it didn't look good, but I was also really shocked that it happened. And I think that the Conservative Party will be really shocked that that happened, because that audience, you know, royal fans, is their natural...
Yes.
You know, that's their demographic.
Yeah.
The demographic.
Yeah.
And for those people...
Yeah, but it wasn't everyone booing, though. I think you have to remember that. And there might have been quite a few fans of Meghan and Harry there. They were booed as well, but we don't really talk about that because they got a few cheers as well. You know, it's 50-50.
They definitely got more cheers than boos. They did get a few boos, but they definitely got more cheers.
Exactly.
I mean, he didn't get any cheers.
At all whatsoever.
We had a guy quoted on Talk TV that went out on our Twitter feed who was moaning on about Boris. He was French. And he booed, and he said he's been living here for a long time, but he didn't like the fact that we went out of Europe. And there's plenty of people who support the royal family who don't like Brexit. And so they'll boo Boris for that. You know, you just don't know why they're doing it. I just don't think they should have done it.
I think there's great unrest in the country, and the people have a voice, and they should have a voice. It may not have been the appropriate time to do it, but they wanted to speak out and say, we are not happy with what's going on in our country. And you're right, because this is Conservative territory.
Yeah.
I mean, it's their hunting ground, so it's not going down very well across the country.
What do you think? Were they right? Were they wrong?
I don't know. I can't put myself in their shoes, can I? And I don't know how they've been harmed or how they felt about him lying. So I don't know. I think it would have been better for silence, actually. Because I think
silence is more powerful.
That would
Silence
have
much
said
more powerful. Yeah.
much more. It would have.
Well, kind of. I mean, silence doesn't get picked up by the cameras. Do you know what I mean? The boos is the reason we're talking about it. If he'd had silence, we wouldn't be talking about the fact that some of them disapproved of him.
Well, I think if there was no noise at all, you'd be going, wow.
You would.
You would. I think it'd be really powerful, actually.
I actually think the boos are more powerful. You know,
Yeah.
I think there are lots of unhappy people out there.
making their voice heard.
Well, he's lucky he didn't get a cabbage on the back of the
Well,
head.
can you imagine,
Yeah.
this is obviously why they said, you better not get Andrew out of a car. I mean, if that was the booze that
Can you
Boris got, can you
imagine?
imagine what would have happened to
That's a
him?
really
That
good
couldn't
point.
have happened.
Yeah. No, I mean, that would be with his COVID. But also, on your point about not being sure whether it was Partygate that led to the booze or Brexit or, you know, whatever it might be, I was down at the Mall yesterday, which was incredible, and the atmosphere was so wonderful, but, you know, full of people, you know, the same type of, you know, obviously royal fans, all with their sort of bunting and flags and stuff. And I saw both Nigel Farage and Piers Morgan being mobbed by supporters and fans asking for selfies. So I don't think it is Brexit that made them boo Boris Johnson today. I really don't.
Well, the thing
because
is, Paul's
otherwise
never-
Farage
Paul's
would have
right.
been
Celebrity.
booed.
No, but
It's celebrity that did
Paul's
that.
right. I mean, there is a great deal of unsettlement in this country. But so there are groups of people. It might be a different crowd around, say, St Paul's. As I said, it might have been to see Harry and Meghan because they weren't at the mall yesterday.
I agree. It was
You know.
rude. I agree. I
I think it was wrong.
I don't think it was
I just think it was wrong. Not very British.
It's the wrong occasion.
Yeah.
Read the room.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
this isn't a political occasion.
And I was also quite surprised by it because I think that the crowds that I've seen, you know, I was down the Mall as well on Wednesday and Thursday, around St Paul's today, everyone's been quite good-natured, like surprisingly good-natured for London. People aren't really very friendly.
that's
I
what I
think it
wonder.
united everybody.
Yeah.
But that's why I
That's
wonder
true.
if it was like a pantomime villain thing, and it just was a bit of somebody started doing it.
Yeah,
and they
and
thought,
everybody
oh, this is a bit of
joined in.
fun. Let's just boo him, you know, hits at him like it's, you know.
Well, let's hope so, because I mean, I would have been horrified if that'd been me, but I think Boris does have an incredibly thick skin. Things tend to just slide off.
You mean he's waterproof?
Yeah.
Well, you get asbestos, exactly, asbestos or
And has
Teflon.
9 lives.
Teflon,
as
yeah.
well.
He can't be that thick-skinned.
Well,
He
I
must
mean,
have felt something.
he must have felt
These are
something,
his
but-
people. I mean, he's the Queen's minister. He's in charge of the government. These are the people speaking or booing. He has to take notice of that.
Well,
And I
I
wonder
think
how
his
Carrie
wife
felt.
would be embarrassed.
Yeah,
Yes.
really embarrassing.
Well, the thing about Boris Johnson is that he doesn't take notice of anything. I mean, you know, most people would have resigned by now. He hasn't, right? Even now, when they're talking about having a vote of no confidence in him, he's not resigning. And if they have a vote, he'll probably win it, and he won't resign. He's not going away. He's not going to leave.
Do you remember when George Osborne was booed in the 2012 Olympics? I think it was the Paralympics he went to, and he just had his omni-shambles budget, and he was booed. And I know that really, really affected him badly. It took him a long time to get over that sort of humiliation and embarrassment.
That's public humiliation.
Yeah, public
is the
humiliation.
worst.
But I agree with you. I don't think Boris Johnson will give a
Doesn't care at all.
His popularity will be obvious
He
at the next
probably
election.
didn't hear it.
Right. He may not have heard it. Anyway, let's move on. With all the pomp and pageantry of the Jubilee, is now the perfect time for Britain to return to using imperial measurements. This is another idea that Boris had, by the way. The government seems to think so as well. Today marks the start of a consultation on the move, with ministers claiming it would offer greater choice for customers and restore common sense. British traders have been forced to use metric when selling packaged or loose goods such as fruit and veg, following an EU directive 20 years ago. But one retail chief has dismissed the possible return of imperial measures as complete and utter nonsense. As the boss, Lord Rose, said, the idea would only please a small minority of maniacs who hark for the past. So, should we return to the imperial system?
No.
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 That's absolutely...
Well, exactly right. I mean, we haven't really changed to a metric system. We
still
still
get a
use
pint.
miles, right? You still get a pint in a pub.
Yeah.
Not a litre of beer.
You know, if you really want to
Ridiculous.
ask for half a pound of mince in the butcher's, you can probably get it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody cares, really, do they?
It seems that we have a hybrid system that works well. If it ain't broke, don't fix
Yeah.
it. And how far could this go? Are we going to go back to shillings and guineas?
Tuppence.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
I mean,
please.
it just seems-
I'm probably the oldest person on this panel.
No, I don't think so.
I'm not sure you're even the second oldest, to be honest.
I was taught in
Yeah.
feet and inches.
You're not in the
and,
race.
I still think about feet and inches.
I
Are you in metres and
I do,
centimetres?
because in America it's feet.
It's feet and inches, yeah.
Yeah, so I
see.
never...
No,
I've never
switched.
bought into... I've got my passport that says how many metres I am. I still don't get it. I don't understand.
But this hybrid works, doesn't it?
Yeah, I
It
think
does
so.
work.
Yeah.
so.
And there's
So-
nothing to change.
No.
Although
No,
I'm going
back
to
in.
quiz some of you.
Oh, no.
Oh, please.
Oh, no.
It's my Anne Robinson moment.
Oh,
come
on.
I
I am
put
Start
the
with
music.
and-
Goodbye.
So, I'm going to ask Paul, how many inches in a foot?
12.
That's easy.
That's
very
easy.
good.
I was confused then. For a minute.
No, she didn't know that.
Right. This is, well, I think this is quite a tricky one, Afia. Which is warmer, 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit? So 20 in new money and 68 in old money.
Double it and add 30.
Oh, see, I don't do that. That's not how I work it out.
So which is warmer?
Yeah, which is warmer,
And add
20
30, the lower one.
in Celsius or 68 in Fahrenheit?
20, double it,
20
40.
in Celsius.
That's...
Thanks, Paul.
Well, they're
wrong. That's wrong. No, that's wrong.
They're roughly the same.
No, it's not. You double it and add 27.
Oh, is it? I
Yeah.
thought you double it and add 30.
I used to
No.
halve it and add 21.
No,
How
you
does
double
that
it.
work out?
No, you double it. You double it and add 27. So it's 67.
I just asked someone.
So it says 20 degrees is... Well, no, that's not right. 68 degrees is cold. Was just
68 is
they're
20.
roughly the same. 20 times 9/5 plus
What?
32.
No.
It's just double it and add
equals
27.
68.
Okay,
Double it
wait
and add
a minute.
27.
None of us
Ever
know,
times
let's be
something
honest.
by 9/5.
You don't. You double it and add
No.
27. That's the
I
easy
think we
one.
might go
Paul said
goodness.
30.
No.
So hold on,
Okay,
was I
well,
right or was
30.
I wrong?
Well, you have to reduce it depending on how high the temperature is.
They're roughly
so
the
it's
same,
kind of, you know.
20
Oh,
and
so it's
60.
a trick
it's all
question there,
insane.
Dave.
Anyway, it means you
Oh,
don't
my
have to wear a
goodness.
jacket. That's what it means.
Sharon, which is longer, 10 metres or 40 feet?
40 feet.
That is
Yes.
That is correct.
Come on.
40 feet, which is just over 12 metres long. Yes. Wow. Very good. Have we had enough quizzes, or do we want... In fact, Mike hasn't done one yet.
I haven't done one. You're saving the hard one for me, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm trying to
Thank
work
you.
out which is the hardest.
As long as it hasn't got 100 ones. in it.
Right, here we go. How many yards in a furlong?
Oh, God.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
You know, I don't know, but I think it's 80.
Queen would know that. Phone a
It's-
friend. It's phone a friend.
How many is it?
It's 220
Is it?
yards.
There you
so
go.
you...
Who knows?
Rob,
I've
I'm
never
gonna-
been good at horse racing.
So, going back to Boris's big idea, one thing I have heard in defence of it is that, well, and as we had in the story there, you know, people who are selling on market stalls it's been illegal for them to sell a pound of plums or whatever. But nobody's prosecuted them, have they?
They did, yeah. No, they were
Really?
quite. They prosecuted quite a few people quite
Yeah,
voraciously.
But
They
not
did.
recently.
Well, not recently, but at the time there was a lot of sort
I
of
remember
zealous.
there was
a lot of
something
zealous
marked
officials. Yeah. Well, do you know, I did some research on this the other day because we talked about it on my show, and apparently the French wanted to decimalise everything. They
Yeah.
wanted to make the week 10 days long. They wanted to make the day 10 hours long. And they wanted to make the year 10 months long so that everything would be
Are
decimal.
you winding us
No,
up?
it's true, absolutely true. The people who came up with the whole metric system wanted to make everything metric. And imagine that. I mean, imagine having 10 months in a year. So I think the hybrid system is good.
hours
I'm
in a
trying
day.
to
Yeah.
imagine it, whether that would be good or bad. I guess it would
be
mean
bad.
It's insanity.
We'd
It's
all,
mad,
we'd
yeah.
all be younger, wouldn't we?
See, you'd have to. You'd think that.
We'd have lived
She's found an
fewer
advantage to it,
years.
right?
Yeah.
More years.
Knock a few years
No,
off.
more.
More
That's how
years.
bad my maths
We'd be
is.
older.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Yeah. I think we just stay where we are. You know.
I think that's exactly-
I know how many
yes.
miles it is to the airport. That's good enough for me.
Right, well, I've shown my knowledge on that issue, so I'm going to take Sharon's advice and move right on.
Yes.
Coming up, an airline boss has apparently blamed staffing shortages and chaos at airports on lazy Brits who aren't applying for the many, many roles that are available at the airports. So is he right? We'll be discussing that next and lots more. This is The Talk Live on Talk TV.
This is Talk TV.
Well, welcome back to The Talk, live on Talk TV. Now, as thousands of Brits continue to suffer flight cancellations and hours spent queuing at airports, Jet2's boss, who's called Steve Heapy, has blamed lazy Brits who live off benefits and who sit on their backsides for the thousands of vacant roles in the industry. At Manchester Airport, some passengers have even resorted to climbing through baggage carousels because there's such a lack of staff, as you can see there. There are also reports that some people are pretending to be disabled in order to skip the really, really long queues. So, with more than 40,000 airline jobs available and the government apparently refusing to relax rules on employing foreign workers instead, are work-shy Brits really the issue, Mike?
I don't think they are. I mean, there are probably some people who would rather stay on benefits because it doesn't actually make any sense for them financially to go and get a job which is worse paying for them. But, you know, in the end, the airline businesses have got an awful lot to answer for here. Yeah. They let loads of people go during the pandemic, and we understand that. But they were also getting furlough money, let's not forget. Yeah. So they didn't have to let them go. They could have kept them on. I think they saw it as an opportunity to slim down the business. And, I mean, a lot of people are flying...
And take the government handouts.
And take the government handouts. And now they're asking to be rescued again. Well, I'm sorry, you know, they should have known that sometime or other people were going to want to travel again, and they should have been ready. And they're clearly not ready. And the other problem that exists at the moment in airports everywhere in Britain is people haven't had security clearance to work in baggage handling areas, right?
Yes.
They've all been recruited, but they're waiting for the Home Office to say that's OK. But, of course, the Home Office are all working from home, so they're not doing anything.
Although
so
apparently the Home Office has said that those people can be trained whilst they're waiting for their clearance, which they didn't used to be able to do. Yeah. So the Home Office is trying to help. Well,
they are now, but I mean, I've been talking to people since January who've been waiting, having got jobs in January. They're still waiting to be given a timetable of when they can go to work. And I just think, I mean, the whole civil service is ground to a halt, basically, you know, from the Home Office to pensions to the DVLA to the Passport Office. None of it's working because they've all been working from home, and they still are. And that's the problem, I think.
I keep saying it. Could you get my driver's licence to me, please? I'm still waiting.
Yeah, right. Because, you know, crazy, you send things into these places and nobody literally opens the envelope. No, there isn't anybody there.
It must be in a stack higher than this.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen Jacob Rees-Mogg going around putting things on people's desks going, you know, please come back to work. Yeah. You know,
but this problem surely is, as you started off by saying, Mike, is more to do with sort of greedy, inefficient airlines rather than useless work-shy.
But it is also going on around the world. You know, they're cancelling flights in America. You know, let's not forget TUI is a German company. You know, it's all very well saying, can we have foreign workers? But, you know, they're not any better.
It's the same as the truck drivers.
Yeah.
When everything went back, nobody wanted to do that work again.
Yeah.
And the problem is also that the airlines and the holiday companies have oversold and overbooked all these flights. So they're selling it pretty much near pre-pandemic levels, you know, accommodating for the surge in people wanting to travel, go on holiday, visit family, take those trips. But you don't have the baggage handlers, the check-in staff, the airline staff, or even enough planes in the right places to fly all these people. And that doesn't make sense. There's no joined-up thinking here. Why sell all those flights and all those holidays if you don't have the staff to let people actually go on them? It doesn't make any sense.
By the government.
Yeah.
They were all warned, so...
But, Paul, one of the issues that, you know, people are saying, which I think is clearly true, you know, there aren't enough bodies to do the job, so we should open up the borders and get lots, you know, as we had before, access to, you know, to EU workers to fill those jobs. And then other people would say that was the whole point of Brexit, we weren't supposed to be doing that.
Well, it's not just the airline industry, is it? It's lots of industries in this country who are suffering from a shortage of labour because it's not there anymore. But why not pay them a decent wage to do a decent job? Yeah. And then you'll get the Brits back into the right role.
They get,
because
what, £10
they
an
don't
hour?
get paid enough. So it's sometimes more beneficial to take the government handout and not do the work. Well,
and that's the thing, that, you know, we are in a cost of living crisis. And you have people who it just doesn't pay for them to go to work.
No.
You know, paying for childcare and heating and food and everything. If it pays more for people to stay at home, they will do that. It just makes financial sense.
But if they were, I mean, I completely agree, £10 an hour, which is what a lot of these airport and airline workers are getting. I agree that's not enough. If those salaries go up, the prices of the tickets will go up. Are we all prepared to say goodbye to the cheap
prices of tickets have already gone up. I mean, you can't get a cheap flight now
they'll
anywhere.
go up even more.
Yeah, because the fuel costs have gone up. They're saying that they haven't got the wherewithal to have cheap flights anymore. You know, flights that used to cost a couple of years ago 100 quid are now costing 400 quid.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't you think it was always a bit crazy that they cost 100 quid?
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about what you were getting for 100 quid, when a train ticket is very often 60 quid, and then a plane ticket could even be cheaper, that always seemed mad to me.
Yeah.
But that's why they upped, well, if you want to take baggage, you pay for this. And, you know, if you want food, you have to pay more, even for headsets.
So let's just go higher prices, but you get everything.
Yeah.
And pay people more.
I
think people
have genuinely forgotten how to actually run businesses because they haven't done it for 2 years and they don't know what they're doing. But let's move on, because how would you feel if the police were monitoring your child's online activity? Leaked documents seem to reveal that a scheme by the Metropolitan Police is collecting children's personal data online. It's called Project Alpha. And 30 dedicated staff are wading through social media, looking at drill music videos and content glorifying shootings and stabbings. However, there are concerns about the privacy of children and police focusing on young black children for signs of criminality. I mean, the police in this country seem to have forgotten how to do their jobs as well, because, you know, we know that there's a massive amount of crime that doesn't get detected at all. You've got no chance of getting a police officer around to your house if you actually are reporting a crime, even if it's actually going on while you're on the phone. You know, if you've been burgled, you'll know this, that, you know, they send you a crime number, they don't even bother coming to test for fingerprints. If you get your car nicked, you've got no chance of getting it back. You know, now they're looking for crime where it really isn't. You know, just listening to people play music. I came past a party on the way in what would be described as a pretty low-rented kind of, you know, council estate. They've got some kids bouncing up and down a bouncy castle. They've got some drill music going out at massive volume, but they're all having a great time. And you can imagine, you know, Rozzers sort of turning up, screeching to a halt, arresting everybody for listening to, you know, some music they think's a bit dodgy. Oh, there might be some crime being committed. Well, there is some crime being committed, but not there. I think that's the problem.
Yes, but monitoring children's a problematic and very difficult area for anybody to manage. I mean, I don't know how the government could do that.
But I think that I find this really problematic.
Right.
I find it problematic, and I think there's nuance to this, because first of all, yes, we have to acknowledge that there are some, and it's not most, and it's not a lot, there's a minority of kids who are involved in gangs, in crime, county lines gangs, and all these kind of things. And yes, we need to stamp down on that. You know, 10,606 knife offences recorded in London is too many. It's 10,606 too many. And I absolutely believe that we should cut down on that. But I do have an issue with the adultification of children, and especially in the black community. We've heard of 3 young black girls that have been strip searched by the police, and I think there is a real problem and a real danger of the adultification of young children. And I also think that things that people post on social media, I mean, social media isn't real, it's a social construct. A lot of things people post on there, you know, aren't theirs, are made up, they're boasting. And if you're using social media as a way to try and figure out crime, which is an unrealistic set of data anyway, that doesn't make sense to me. I agree with you, Mike. Never thought to say that, but I agree with you that the police aren't doing their job. They need to be out policing, not sitting and looking at drill music.
Sharon, you think they're doing the right thing?
Yeah, because I think that crime is so high with teenagers right now. It's ridiculous. I mean, look at the girl that was, I think she was 12 and got stabbed by a 14-year-old. I mean, that's just, it's not an isolated case, is it? And I think that, I mean, I got out of a car here, coming to the studio, and like 7 kids were like, you know, they hit somebody around the face 5 times. They were bullshit. They were obviously trying to steal the car because the driver had got out of the car. And it's like, hey, wait a minute, what's the problem here? And, you know, it's everything they see is violence, video games, TV shows, everything. And it becomes second place. They want to be bolshy. They want to... Not everyone, of course,
No.
but I think quite a large majority.
But shouldn't the police then be out on the streets rather than
There's
sitting
not
in an
enough
office?
police.
You know?
And that's another problem
Yeah,
as well.
not enough police.
And,
So...
yeah, and that is a problem. I do agree with you. There isn't enough police, but the police that we do have shouldn't be sitting looking at drill music videos.
And yet, so
But there's isn't a special force. There's only 30 people.
I quite like the idea that the police educate themselves more about what's going on online, because I feel that, you know, well, obviously there's a cyber crime unit of the police which is looking into, you know, to a lot of crimes, but this side of things, you know, with 2 teenagers in my house who you just worry so much about how much time they're spending online, what it is that's sucking them in, what they might end up seeing, either, you know, whether it's some kind of grooming or criminal behaviour, whatever. There's something I find quite reassuring about the idea that the police might be getting in there and trying to find out what's going on, and then I worry about, you know, their privacy. So
until they knock on your door and say one of your kids has been looking at drill music, we want to take him down to the police station.
Absolutely.
And ask him who he's been stabbing.
And then I'll be completely contradicting myself. It is one of those areas I think we're all getting to grips with this new landscape and what the police's role is and the dangers that kids are facing, and trying to work out the best way to look after them. And maybe that is the police getting in there.
Maybe it is. Coming up, something very different. Rod Stewart thinks the music industry is outdated and needs to move with the times. We'll be discussing his comments next. This is The Talk Live on Talk TV.
Welcome back to The Talk, live on Talk TV. Sir Rod Stewart has called on the music industry to evolve, claiming that artists aren't benefiting from the streaming boom. The singer says the music business is stuck in an analogue age and must follow the lead of the Queen in embracing change. At least 80% of recorded music is listened to through streaming services such as Spotify in the UK. Sir Rod's top 10 songs have racked up more than 246 million streams on the platform, earning him big bucks. But he warns that middlemen and labels are taking a slice of the cake, with newer artists failing to be paid. Now, Sharon, you manage music acts. Is Sir Rod right?
He is and he isn't.
Okay.
The situation is, about 15 years ago, the bottom fell out of the music industry, where an artist, say, you know, would sell maybe 5 million every time they released an album. It was like halved, and then it halved again. And so the music industry are going, how are we going to keep going? And then they came up with streaming. And it's partly owned by record companies. They all got together, started this consortium, and came up with streaming. And they pay you less than a penny. If somebody streams your music, less than a penny. So unless your music is streamed by billions of people, you don't see anything. I mean, look, 248 million Rod is got, but I mean, it sounds huge, but in the streaming, it's got to be billions. And also, you know, kids now can buy an album on you know, Apple Music or whatever, and they can just take one track off that album if they want. They don't have to buy a whole record. So they can spend, you know, £1.50 on one track that's the hit at the time. And they say, well, why should I buy the whole album?
So what can be done then?
They need to give artists what is their right. They need to pay the artist properly, because everybody's making money but the artist.
But that's going to take the music industry conglomerate, the record labels, and everybody giving up a bit of the pie and saying, OK, if you're paying £1.50 for the track, we need to pay the artist £1 for the track.
But the thing is, it will only work if all the bands say, no more streaming, we're not going to allow you to do this. And so if they have no current new music, that's the only thing that will stop them and go, OK, we'll work out a new deal.
Is that why so many artists who are quite established and quite well off are selling their back catalogues as well? Because they're selling the back catalogue, presumably, so they don't then get any more from the streaming, but they get a couple of 100 million from what they've sold.
And you'll find that a lot of the older artists are doing that, because they're, you know, in their 70s, and they go, hey, why do I need to hold on to this publishing or these masters for life? You know, I might as well get millions now and spend it now.
And actually, the only way an artist can really, really make money, like a young artist, touring, isn't it? Going on tour
And merchandising.
For months and months and months on the road.
But also your merchandising, and if you have a track that's used in a commercial, you can get millions for that, depending on how big the track is. You can, you know, you can get 3-4 million.
But some of that, I mean, I have stood with my teenage daughter and queued for some of that merchandise, like Billie Eilish and Thingy Mendes. Sean. Sam Mendes.
I knew it was an S.
Sam Mendes is the other. I mean, I have queued with her for like 3-4 hours to
and
get
they're not cheap.
To get a not cheap that cost 80 quid or something. I mean, unbelievable how much.
I'm a huge fan of Rod Stewart's. Always have been, and I don't think he's short of a few bob, is he?
No, he's doing quite
he's
well.
Doing all right.
He's doing all right.
Who's the Royals' favourite pop star, apart from Elton John, which we all know the Royals
well, the
love.
Princess, well, I dare I say Duran Duran? Well, you knew that anyway. Michael Jackson, great performer.
Yeah.
Sadly missed.
We will move on now to our short and snappy debates from the panel. It is time for Small Talk.
Fear.
Hit me with it.
I will. So, Kim K snubbed from the official Jubilee party. Can you imagine? Buckingham Palace rejected Kim Kardashian's request to attend the Platinum Party at the Palace on Saturday. She even approached BBC publicists to try and nab some tickets for herself and her boyfriend Pete Davidson, but was turned down. Get this, the couple flew in from the US to try and attend the event and even dyed their hair platinum for the occasion.
See, I think they've made a big mistake.
Big mistake.
Our household is a massive Pete and Kim fan.
Really?
No.
Huge.
I thought you meant
Absolutely
Pete and Kim
huge.
have made a big
No.
mistake.
I think the organisers huge. Said
No.
teenager who I was just mentioning, Pete Davidson is her icon, and we are a big Kardashian fan. I'm afraid,
Oh,
Sharon.
my
Is
goodness.
that allowed?
No.
It's
Of
allowed.
course
No.
it is,
Listen.
but it's all down to, you know, what...
But it's
What
not. It's not
turns
the
you
Oscars.
on,
Yeah,
and
it's not
we're
the
all
Oscars,
different.
is it? You don't
But-
just get to go because
No.
you've got a load of money and some Oscars.
For
And
me,
certainly
it's
Jack
the
Nicholson
it's
can
the
I come?
audacity of
Well,
it for me. How are you just going to get on a plane, turn up, and say, "Can I come to the party?"
I think they
please?
came from Italy, though,
'Cause
after
they've never-
the wedding. They came from Italy.
Nobody's
I'd
ever
like to
said
believe
no
they
to
came
them.
straight
That's
from
the
the US.
Who was it?
They've
Who
got
is
the
it?
audacity.
Yeah.
Who is it? Kim who? Who's that? I'm sure the Queen is looking over her
really,
spectacles saying,
really.
Kim who? Well, everybody at the Jubilee, of course, they were there, invited, on their own merit. I mean, that was the whole point of the Jubilee. What has
I
Kim
think-
Kardashian given to
I think they should
the
be.
royal
I
family?
think
or
they should be
Britain?
on the stage, not
Sounds
in the
like
audience.
sounds like
Right.
name of a horse at the Derby, doesn't it? Kardashian.
It does.
it could have
Paul,
been.
what's
It could have
your
been.
small... How small is your talk?
Careful. Well, my husband's a lawyer, so he advised me on this. The fact that the government are going to give people £500, those who are seeking divorce, as a sort of alternate to take away the pressure of the court system, to give them advice. And I think it will assist in amicable settlements and disputes. But is £500 enough per couple? Because we all know that lawyers earn £500 an hour. So it's not going to get people very
Well,
far.
I mean, I didn't mind
Is
paying
it a
for my
good
own
idea?
divorce. I don't want to pay for anybody else's. Thanks.
Well-
you know, they can pay for their own. No public money for
But isn't there a
divorcing.
danger with this that, you know, I mean, let's say we were married
Yes.
and we were really happy, but then we pretended we had something we wanted to be settled. We were friends who had fallen out, and then we say, can we have £500?
That's
Just,
fine. 500 quid.
like, fake it.
But
Yes,
isn't it a £500
wouldn't
voucher
last
that
you
will
very
probably
long.
just go straight to
voucher.
the
Yeah,
mediation
it is a voucher.
person rather than £500 so you can go
It's
down
not going to go very far.
Mike?
No, it's not
No.
like
You
they're going to
next.
put it in
Yeah,
your bank
well,
account.
No.
Exactly.
Talking of divorce, there's a woman in India who's decided to marry herself. I don't know what that means when it comes to an end, but
She must
her
be
name
very
is
happy with
Sharma
herself.
Bindu. She's going to host a traditional Hindu ceremony with family and friends. She dedicates herself to a life of self-love. I mean,
I bet she does.
We've all known people. We've all known people like that. Some of them have got married to other people and it hasn't gone well. So maybe she's got something here. But it's sort of the ultimate act of narcissism. She's being called India's first sologamist. Sologamist? I mean, it's a weird thing to do. And I just don't understand why you would bother doing it. I mean, if you want to spend your life on your own, why do you have to get married to yourself?
Is
Barking mad.
Is it only me
It's
that's
barking.
having...
Just go and live in New York, get yourself a shrink, and away you go. That's what everybody else does.
It
Well,
sounds like
I
a
wonder
bad
if she'll need
joke.
the voucher to get divorced.
She could get
that's
one
a good
only.
question.
Yeah, $250
Yeah.
for her because there's not two of them.
Now, there is
Presumably.
one story that I don't know if you guys have seen, but I wanted to draw your attention to. There was a wonderful chap, former protection officer for Prince Philip, who was invited to the service today, who was interviewed outside St Paul's and just gave this most amazing anecdote about the Queen. Forgive me if you've heard it already, Paul, but he was in Balmoral with the Queen and Prince Philip, but he was just with the Queen at this particular moment, and they were having a picnic. She was obviously very dressed down in her winter garb, and this American couple of tourists came up to them and started chatting to them, as you do. And then this American tourist said, do you come here often to the Queen? She said, yes, I've come here every year for 80 years. And they said, oh, do you live here? Or, or do you have a place? And she said, I have a holiday home here. And they said, do you know that the Queen has a place near here as well? They didn't recognise her. Do you know the Queen has a place here? And she said, really? And he said, yeah. And they said, yes, have you met her? To the Queen. And the Queen turned to the protection officer and said, I haven't. But he has. Whereupon they gave her their camera, and this is true, and asked her to take a photograph of them
So
with the
funny.
protection officer.
How do you not recognise the Queen?
I know. And then, and as they wandered off, apparently she turned to him, her protection officer, who I think is called Richard Griffin, and said, Dickie, I would love to be a fly on the wall when they get those pictures home and everybody looks at them.
That just shows you who the Queen is.
That's so funny.
Isn't it?
What a great sense of humour.
Such a good sense
She
of
probably
humour.
took a picture of their feet.
Yeah.
What a shame she couldn't go to the Derby.
Yeah. Did you ever see her, because she's famous for practical jokes, did you ever see her doing practical jokes?
Well, I once saw her wearing her crown and her pink fluffy slippers at the same time.
Oh, bless her.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And they love goon gifts, don't they, at
They
Christmas?
do.
We're always here that
Stuff going on
that
the
they
table.
give silly, silly presents in Christmas and nothing expensive. Well, that is all we have got time for tonight. Thank you so much to the fantastic panellists, Sharon Osbourne, Paul Burrell, Mike Graham, who is back on Talk TV tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and Afia Hagan. The Talk will be back on Monday at 9 o'clock. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.